Hey, what's going on? Welcome into the H Town Huddle weekly here Wednesday night. A little bit later than usual. Had a long day going, but we are ice cold with the 4-1 vibes, hitting you with the recap from the Buffalo game. Moving on to New England. Plus, we got some bad news, breaking news with Nico Collins, but all of that and more on this week's edition of the H Town Huddle. Hey, and as I mentioned, appreciate everybody for being here with me on the late Wednesday night, a little bit later than usual, but you can catch the H Town Huddle every Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. Central Time per usual. But like I said, just a little bit late today. I had a long day at work, but we're getting through it, just like the way the Houston Texans got through last week's game with Buffalo at home. But like I mentioned last week, if you guys didn't catch that, we did break out the H-Town Blue unis, which was awesome to see. The first time the Texans did that in team history, right? And so they were able to take care of business at home, jumped out to a great early lead early on, taking care of business, doing what they do, looking really smooth right out the gate. And then that building up into a 17-3 halftime lead. And then, of course, not so good in the second half. The adjustments that the Buffalo Bills made seemed to be a little bit better there, but the defense held out and still played really well. So we'll talk about some of the guys who played really good and give them their flowers there. Hey, salute Derek. Appreciate you for showing up, showing out like you always do. Make sure everybody else who's out there checking it out or watching the replay, you hit the like and subscribe. That way you get all the notifications for when we do end up going live with all of our shows here on the Gen Wealth Network. That includes the Wake Your Game Up that's going to be going on Friday mornings and Tuesday mornings, as well as the Monday night football live watch parties. You got the Sunday night live watch parties. You got the Sundays the Grit Don't Quit all day with the start sit lineup advice stuff, and then all of the goodness that we got going on there. And of course, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. Like I said, check out neonpeacockmerch.com. That's up there. That's our sponsor. Got a sale going on right now. $13.95 t-shirts going on right now up until the 14th. So the sale just kicked off a couple days ago, plus 35% off the entire website. Please make sure that you guys are checking that stuff out and taking advantage of that deal that will be going on. Plenty of good stuff there, not just the t-shirts and all the cool designs that we have for the NFL and the Nickname Hall of Fame and the NFL Jam ones that we got and all of that stuff there. But you can grab, 35% off of mugs, blankets, throw pillows, which I would suggest that's a really cool one. Gifts for people coming up. So, Christmas right around the corner. So take advantage of that sale. 35% off the entire website. So make sure you're checking that out. And we'll run a promo video about the halfway point here once we wrap up the Buffalo Bills recap. But back to the task at hand, everyone. That, like I mentioned, Texans move on. They improved to 4-1. They could easily be a team that could be like 1-4, but they've been winning these close battles, and that's what good football teams do. So glad to see that. At least appreciate that. Good job, Texans. Getting the love from the crowd, and like I mentioned, the home crowd this last week, they showed up and they showed out. They made a difference there in some of the play calls. You could tell. Texans offensive line played a lot better. I called for that happening. Hopefully that they could clean up some of the penalties. Zero penalties in the first half for Laramie Tunsil and company, keeping CJ Stroud clean. Those drives were moving, they were sustaining, they were getting points out of it. And so that's why you saw 17 points put up in the first half, looking really good there as far as the way the offense was going. Second half, though, adjustments were made. The offense didn't quite necessarily keep it as clean. I think there was like 6 or 7 penalties in the second half. So it was a tale of two halves. Texans got to put it all together, play 4 quarters of complete complementary football, but much better stuff that you saw in the return game with Robert Woods as opposed to Steven Sims, gifting away the football. Although Woods did field a couple of punts inside the 5-yard line, which you got to let those go over your head and bounce into the end zone, hopefully. But he also did have 2 returns that set up the Texans nicely that ended up leading to scoring points on those particular drives. So, it was just good to have a veteran presence there. You know how that goes. But yeah, we will talk about Tank Dell and Nico Collins. But yeah, we do need Tank to finally step up. And I got some thoughts on that, right? So obviously Tank Dell was he's coming off of the broken leg, right, from last season. So he looked pretty good in the preseason and stuff. So I'm not going to necessarily say there's built-in excuses there, but we've still got to remember that he's coming off the broken leg, and that takes some time to recover from. Any kind of lower body injury typically takes a little bit of time. Guys don't necessarily always look the same, although we have seen some flashes here and there. So hopefully with Nico now on the shelf for a few weeks, testing did come back. They said that it was enough to put Nico, instead of in that 1 to 2 week time range, it was going to be more of a 3 to 4 week, and so they just decided to place him on the IR instead of having to. And hamstrings are tricky. So in this portion of the season, let's see if I got it here. I can pull up the schedule, but if, for this portion of the season, the games he's going to miss, basically a layup, or it should be a gimme this coming week with the Patriots, and then a tough Green Bay game. Of course, you'd want him there, and then the Colts. But then you don't want him going out there onto a Jets field out there in the Meadowlands where everybody gets hurt, and where he got hurt with a calf injury last year. So Nico Collins does have a bit of an injury history, and that's why you went out and you traded for guys like Stephon Diggs for instances like this, just to get a little bit deeper. So I do think that, the team has a lot of depth in the position. They don't need to necessarily go out and try to trade for anybody or anything like that. So I think that, they'll be just fine. Like you said, though, we do need to see these other players step up in the absence of Nico Collins. And it's not going to be easy because Nico's stats were, pretty ridiculous. I think I had them somewhere. Oh, shoot. I didn't upload them. Hold on. They're here somewhere. I did have I thought I had his stats for the entire season up here, but everybody knows that he was leading the NFL as far as the yardage is concerned. Documents, downloads. It would have been in this folder, but regardless, I don't know where they went. That's weird. But anyways, regardless, like I said, Nico. Not one guy's going to replace him, right? But hopefully we'll see an uptick in targets for guys like Tank Dell, who's only seeing like 4 or 5 targets a game. Dalton Schultz over the middle as well. A lot of the passes have been going to the backs, which is not something the Texans are known to do. So, but like I said, going back to the schedule, you probably get Nico Collins here for that Thursday night game versus the Lions. So instead of trying to have him kind of rush back in either between the Colts or the Jets here and maybe re-injure himself or tweak something, you want him back for that tougher part of the schedule. There should be the tougher part of the schedule there between teams like the Lions and Cowboys, right? And then the further half of the season, and then he gets that nice bye week again before the schedule continues. So I think this is a pretty decent, smart move. I'm not completely devastated as a Houston Texans fan by this. Like I said, this is why you went out and you got guys like Stephon Diggs, and now you hope that Tank Dell returns to form like he was last season and plays a complimentary role on the outside there. So I think that they should be okay. But yeah. True. Let's see. You keep forgetting about his leg. Yeah. So not only that, right? So he had the leg that he's mending from. Then he got shot right over the off season, and then he got hurt. And this last game he came back from a chest and wrist injury where he got smacked, in that game versus the Vikings. So so he missed that Jaguars game, which should have been a good coming out party. And Nico just ended up exploding and doubling up in targets and all that. But yeah, I think Nico has close to 570 yards or something like that, just off the top of my head. So that's the thing, the injuries are starting to mount up. So let's go and take a look at the injury report. That didn't load either. Where did these save to? Oh, geez. I got to find that folder. See, and that's what happens when you're working late. And where did these save to? That's kind of crazy. Maybe all files? There you go. There they are. injury report. Kyrie Fairbairn here. This one. Hopefully these are supported. Nico's stats. There you go. Let's upload all these if we can. Perfect. Sometimes the computer will say certain files or whatever, and I had saved these as, I don't know, random other extensions. Who knows? Anyways, so there was something I wanted to pull up. Oh, here we go. So here's some of the injury. Here's some of the injury stuff, and this is from my man Jordan Pun out there in Houston. Shout out to this guy. He's really good on the stats and breaking down film. He kind of doesn't do this a lot anymore, but he'll still tweet every now and then. But these are the guys that the Texans are currently without at the moment, and this is kind of goes back to like last year. They were, just putting next man up mentality. Whoever's out there, try to make do with it. And so this is going to be one of the things. And so no, Mixon is not back at the moment. He wasn't at practice. I'll pull up the official injury report here in a second. There you go. And so there it is. Derek Barnett, shoulder, didn't practice. Diggs got rest, right? You're going to need him. So he didn't practice, just the rest day for the vet. Kenyon Green didn't practice with the knee. That may be a good thing, to be honest, because Blake Fisher came in and played pretty darn well this last week when Titus Howard got hurt. Titus Howard dealing with a hamstring injury as well. Kamari Lassiter didn't practice with a shoulder. That's not good. He played fairly well except for that one play where I believe Keon Coleman was able to break a tackle and take it to the house. But if you take that away, I think he would have allowed like 30 or 20 yards on six completions underneath or something like that, or six targets. So he's been playing well for a rookie corner. Let's see, Kurt Heinisch was full. That's good. We've got him back from IR, so there's some depth there on the defensive line. Joe Mixon still not practicing with the ankle. Like, geez, I don't know what's happening there. They should have put him on IR if they're going to be doing this at this point. 2 weeks ago, and this is the thing, 2 weeks ago, he looked fine. I saw video of him out there on a Friday practice looking like he was going to try to suit up for the Jaguars game, and then he's not out there again. So holding him out, we are going to get Dameon Pierce back. I picked him up in one place over Cam Akers. I don't know if it's a good move or not, to be honest with you, because Cam Akers does look like a better runner, to be honest. They're just not giving him a full workload because they're using Dare in the passing game. So in full PPR leagues, to me, it's still Dare, but now this muddies the water with Dameon Pierce back. So it's another wait and see freaking week as far as the backfield is concerned for fantasy purposes there. But Dameon Pierce, like I said, he was back. He was limited. He is expected to play. Delshon Phillips was limited. He's a backup linebacker. Nothing to worry about there because Azeez Al-Shaair and H2 have been playing out of their minds. We still haven't seen Christian Harris or know if he's going to be coming back. He's basically like a week-to-week type of thing as well. Jimmy Ward, the Texans just can't have nice things. He didn't practice with a groin issue. Laramie Tunsil didn't practice with an ankle issue, but I think that goes back to him just being an old vet that's going to get Wednesdays off from now on. We're going to see a do not practice, then a limited, then a full on Friday, and then he'll suit up. And then Robert Woods' foot didn't practice, and that's probably, he's probably dealing with some foot soreness or something. He's like a 32-year-old wide receiver or something of that nature. So that's what we're dealing with right now, but it's week 5, and that's what happens. Hey, shout out to Bogart. He says, are we firing up the goon with a spoon? I feel like this is actually a big killer Cam game unless Mixon can make it back to on the other side. I mean, Mayday could make it a game on the other side. Yeah, Mayday, Drake, you mean? Not Drake. The sacrificial lamb, as I like to call him, Drake. Where is he? Here he is. The sacrificial lamb. So yeah, the Patriots will be starting the sacrificial lamb versus the Texans, who the Texans have one of the highest QB pressure rates in the NFL, and the Patriots allow the highest QB pressure rate in the NFL. So it's going to be bad for Drake May come Sunday. So that's why, given the news with Nico Collins and all this happening, I mean, might as well put him on IR now. Get this stuff kind of, out of the way. This is actually, you look at the first 5 games of the season, you didn't think that they'd be coming out of here, unless you were me, right? That they'd be coming out of here 4-1. I think a lot of people pegged the loss to the Colts in week 1. They said that they would struggle but beat Chicago. Then they'd probably struggle, maybe beat Minnesota because we didn't think they were good. And then they'd probably 2 L's, one to Jacksonville and one to Buffalo. So a lot of people thought we'd probably be 2-3 at this point in the mainstream media still. So being 4-1 at this juncture, and then facing the Patriots next, then you have 2 winnable games after that, or 2 winnable games in this 4-week bubble where we know that Nico Collins is going to be out. And then hopefully, it's not longer than that, right? So hopefully you can stay afloat. It would be nice to have Joe Mixon back, lean on the run game. That way you don't have to rely on the pass catchers so much. But, it is what it is, right? You got to take it and just keep rolling with the punches. And unfortunately, like we said, Nico Collins, we're going to miss you, big guy, leading the NFL, killing everybody as far as, wiping the floor with other fantasy receivers and just putting him in your lineup and feeling super confident that, he's not going to give you a bust a week. Those days are at least gone for a month. So we'll make do. Like I said, there's other players to gravitate towards too on this offense. I think that Dalton Schultz is going to see an uptick. Stephon Diggs, obviously. Hopefully Tank Dell returns to form and he can contribute the way that Stephon was kind of doing, and maybe they'll move him around or put him in the slot. Who knows if Stephon stays in the slot? We got to see what Bobby Slowick does, how he's going to scheme this out. And so this first week, it's probably going to just be pretty plain and simple and try to just get these guys the ball and start basic with your new personnel grouping that you're going to have for this month. And then you can start, rolling out the little bells and whistles and the little nuances once these guys pick it up. I don't imagine it's going to be anything different, right? You're going to have maybe Xavier Hutchinson comes in and fills in the Nico role, right? On a lot of these certain packages at Heat. We saw him come in and have a couple of nice grabs this last game. So, we just got to see what Slowick does, how he decides to do that. And I think it's going to be a little more difficult when you're doing a running back by committee without Mixon. So the Texans, you still haven't seen their true identity since, believe week 1 when they played the Colts. So they're just going to, like I said, you're going to have to make do, the next man up kind of thing. And then we probably still won't see, the Texans at 100%, like that full 5-headed monster again until, late November, unfortunately. But this could be a good thing. Hopefully the rest of the team can take this as an see this as an opportunity for them to step up and make plays. Guys like Tank Dell, Xavier Hutchinson, maybe John Mechie can throw his hat in the ring and start making some plays. But this week in particular, I think it's going to rest a lot on the defense. They had a really nice game this last week, and we can go back to the Buffalo Bills game. But once again, kudos to the offensive line. They actually played pretty well this last week. Blake Fisher did come in for Titus Howard, who was injured, and he played really well. But yes, lots of things to consider this week. Shout out to Titus Howard's parents for naming him that. It's a badass name. Titus is pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. That's pretty badass. Right, he should be on the IR. Yes, as far as Joe Mixon, that would have been nice instead of having to put him in the IR and then back onto your bench every week for fantasy purposes. So it is. What the hell is going on with Hunter? Thought he'd be killing in Houston. He ain't be doing jack. As far as sacks, the numbers aren't there. But as far as quarterback pressures, the Texans lead the NFL. So both he and Will Anderson are just wreaking havoc as far as that goes. They're just not sacking the quarterback, but it's leading to quick errant throws, which is leading to the Texans basically no-fly zone because the Texans secondary, and I have it here somewhere. Here you go. The Texans secondary is, or their defense, is first in the NFL in opposing quarterback completion percentage through 5 weeks. So that means that so here, even in this picture, you're not seeing a sack per se, but, the quarterback is getting rid of the football, making errant throws and causing incompletions, which is turning into 3 and outs. And it's not showing up in the stat sheet, right? So regardless, being number 1 in that category through 5 weeks is pretty darn good. And like I said, that leads to the secondary playing really well. Derek Stingley's playing at an all-pro level right now, not Pro Bowl level, but all-pro level, basically shutting down anybody and everybody he's lined up against on any given play. The only problem with that is, he doesn't shadow, number 1 wide receivers, but it is what it is. Hey, what's up, Spencer? Appreciate you, man. You think Mechie could be a sleeper with Nico out? He could definitely be a sleeper, but I think that the sleeper, or the sleeper's sleeper, or the correct sleeper, or the next man up would be Xavier Hutchinson. He's the tall slot kind of physically resembles Nico the most. He's 6'3", 205 pounds, so he's a lot bigger than most people think. So I think that framework, as far as putting an X receiver out there on 3 wide receiver sets, it would probably be him. I think Mechie fits more of the Diggs role, to be honest, and which is why you haven't seen a lot of Mechie or Mechie at all. When they're going to some of these other rotational pieces, it's because it's the Stephon Diggs role that Mechie actually plays. So Mechie's more of a stash for the organization per se. Like, let's say that they don't bring Stephon Diggs back for his second year, then you'd expect that they'd try to fill that role with John Mechie in hopes that he's taken that next step, right? But he's definitely no Stephon Diggs. And Stephon Diggs is still playing, I think, at a high level, elite level. Maybe not his number one, but like a number one wide receiver level. But now that Nico Collins is out of the picture, he's going to have to probably be thrust back in that position. And that's probably good for Stephon Diggs' ego, right? So, and if we can have him be that guy and be go-to the way that Nico was and make clutch catches on the sidelines or in traffic and things of that nature, then that'll be great. I think the Tank is going to be still the field stretcher, and they'll use him a lot more. They were using both he and Nico a lot in that same respect, but Collins' eye was drawing more to Nico. He's the bigger receiver, and so why not bigger catch radius? It's with a higher chance of getting that ball to him completed. So why not take the shot at him as opposed to Tank, who may be a few yards further downfield and drawing a safety over the top coverage and things of that. So I think that we may see this kind of even out as far as spreading the ball around. Once Nico Collins was out of the game this last week, we saw 6 different Texans catch passes for more than 30 yards. So we had 6 different Texans pass catchers with 30 yards or more once Nico Collins was out. So, we're seeing everything kind of just funnel to Nico. Nico was not only the wide receiver 1 for the Texans, he was a wide receiver 1 in the entire NFL. So yeah, it's going to hurt, but at the same time, it may take some of the pressure off. Like, I know it seems weird, right? He's not like a ball hog, always calling for the ball diva type thing or whatever, but maybe, now that Stroud doesn't have like he's going to be like my surefire number 1 go-to, he can just maybe read the field a little bit easier or with an open mindset and be like, I'm just going to necessarily really get the ball to the open guy and not just force feed it to Nico Collins in a dire situation, right, where he can go up and make a play. Maybe he'll start to spread the ball out a little bit more and see the field a little bit easier. Maybe the Slowick won't be pressured to have Nico Collins be the number 1 read on every single play, right? Maybe we can just come out and have the play develop, and the read is what the read is, and other pass catchers can be the number 1 read in this offense, which I would like to see, a design play where, you look downfield and Tank Dell is your X receiver or Hutchinson's your X receiver, and that's your number 1 read on a deep in crossing route or whatever it is, right? And then you can check it down to Diggs over the middle or Dalton Schultz or whatever it is popping off to the side. So, they do need to get the run game going, though. That's a big thing. With Mixon still missing time, it's going to be tough. I think that's a big key that's been missing since week 1, and which is why we haven't seen this passing attack really flourish. Now with Nico out, like I said, maybe spread the ball out a little bit more, but now it's just everybody. Luckily, the opponent in front of them next week is the lowly New England Patriots. Here's a good, cool, fun nugget for everybody. The Texans have never won in New England, so this would be the first time. A lot of pressure on that. It feels almost like a trap game. It's a trap. So we'll see how that goes. Hey, what's up, Steamboat Joe? Appreciate you, man. Wooly bully. Yes, sir. And Nico Collins plays bully ball, right? So we're going to miss that physical aspect of that as well. So like I said, having the 6'3", 205-pound Iowa State Xavier Hutchinson step in, I think might work, in the offense if they're going to be doing that and rolling with him in 3 wide receiver sets. Now they could change, right? And we could see a lot of 11 personnel and it's just Tank and Diggs, so who knows, right? Who knows? But like I said, it's up to Slowick to kind of design and scheme something for this next month. Now that he knows Nico Collins is not in the offensive playbook for this next month. So are things going to change, or is it just plug and play and we're going to next guy up? Or, does the scheme kind of change around what you have in your personnel grouping, right? And so I'd imagine that it's going to be a little bit more of the latter, and hopefully we get to see, like I said, a distribution of the ball go out and more fantasy relevant games for not just one receiver, right? But, everybody else who's involved. And then hopefully we get Joe Mixon back, right? And that we can consolidate the running back carries and targets, and then all of a sudden, boom, the other two receivers and our tight end are off and running, right? But there's an outside chance that Mixon does play Spencer, but it doesn't look good. He's not practicing, did not practice today, according to the injury report. So unfortunately, if we're going to go back to how that's been trending, Mixon misses on Wednesday. He typically, he only got a limited practice in on a Friday 2 weeks ago, and then he's been MIA since. So I don't expect him to be back this week again, which is basically I think he's hitting the 4-week almost. So it's basically like putting him on the IR. I would hope that he is back the following week, though. And I think that the Texans maybe think that they can get this done without him regardless. So we'll see how it is. Before we move on deeper into the New England game, I did want to give Kami Fairbairn his flowers. And there he is with his flowers. He got laid. He was the player of the week, so he did get the H Town player of the week chain. You see it there underneath his lei, which is really cool. But I believe he was also recognized by the NFL. Let's see if I have that one here. As the AFC Special Teams Player of the Week as well. So there you go. Him being a savior to us and kicking his many, many field goals under pressure. He's basically there on the hash. You can see, not the hash, I'm sorry, the half, the 50-yard line logo. The logo at the halfway point of the field. It's been a long day. But there he is kicking another long field goal for the win. He has ice in his veins. The man has done this many, many times before. So warranted to pay him his money this offseason, get him paid and locked in, and you don't have to worry about that stuff. So glad that they did that with him, as well as with Nico. Unfortunately, though, Nico, there's the Nico stats that I was talking about. So PFF grade first, receiving yards third. Oh, this is just like his since 2023. Nice. I hadn't even paid attention. Second in receiving yard or receptions, gaining 20 plus yards. Yards per route run second, and he's in the threes, which is pretty crazy. You see that metric, and then his passer rating with targeted is, not too far off from perfect. So I mean, he's a force to be reckoned with. So that is what the Texans are going to be missing these next 4 weeks. I know that's the huge news that we're all talking about here, but we do expect the likes of Xavier Hutchinson and Tank Dell to hopefully step up. And like I said, maybe mix in some John Mechie. Here's another cool little nugget graphic. Strange but true. The Bengals are 1-4 with a -5 point differential. The Texans are 4-1 with a -12 point differential. So like I said, this is a team that could very easily have been, I said it at the top of the show, could very easily been 1-4 the other way around. But I think good teams find a way to win. You don't necessarily get lucky, right? You kind of keep yourself in those situations. And when you have 7 and there's any time left on the clock, I always feel extremely confident that he'll just go get the job done and get the win. So there's been times in the past where I was like, how did Deshaun Watson do that? And he had to break a tackle and put somebody in the spin cycle and then bounce off a defender, and the ball had to hit somebody else in the helmet, and he had to get poked in the eye, and then the clouds had to open up and the light from heaven had to shine down on Will Fuller, and then he had to throw the football for all of the Texans just to get a win back in the day. So with CJ Stroud, I feel a little more comfortable that he's just back there. His nickname is Cool Breeze for a reason. He's just sitting back there in the pocket. He knows how to make the read, and he can get it done. And then he can make some magic happen and extend the play as well if he needed to. But I feel a lot more confident now that, given those situations, those close game situations, when it's coming down. And you can talk about the end of this last game too, where the clock management for the Bills they're standing basically in the shadow of their own end zone, and they throw the ball 3 times. I mean, that was great defense by the Texans. One of those, Lassiter almost has a pick on 2 plays, actually. Murray's on one of those, and the pressure of Aziz Al-Shaair, we didn't even talk about that, but he was questionable on Saturday, extremely ill, throwing up, lost 10 pounds, ended up playing, had 8 tackles, 2 pass breakups, which were almost 2 interceptions. He basically dropped one of them. He should have picked off Josh Allen twice. And he was just all over the place. He was in on the play when Josh Allen got concussed, and then the NFL inexplicably just lets him come out of the blue medical tent and gets right back into the game. But yeah, a win's a win. Nobody's going to care how it happened, who was there, who was playing necessarily, what players were missing. When you look back on it, it's like, oh yeah, they beat this team, and that's basically all that matters. So 4-1 heading into this week. Like I said, with this a matchup with the Sacrificial Lamb, Drake May Day Parade, but it's going to be tough for him. And here it is. The Patriots' pass protections rank is basically last in the pressure rate, and pretty close to last in sack rate. And then the Texans, like I said, blitz success rate first, sack rate 6. So even though they're not even making a lot of noise, like Derek was saying, they're still way up there as far as the NFL is concerned about making some noise, against opposing quarterbacks. And like I mentioned before, I believe the Texans are first in the NFL in opposing completion percentage for quarterbacks. So the Patriots are doing a real cool thing and rolling out their rookie versus probably the worst defense to do it against. So that's tough. That's very tough. So pray for this kid. Pray for Drake May. I feel bad for him already a little bit, but I wouldn't also be surprised though. It's a trap. Trap games do happen. The last time the Texans faced a rookie quarterback in New England, they got their butts kicked. Tom Brady was injured. The backup quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, ended up getting injured and couldn't play. And rookie Jacoby Brissett shredded us for I don't know how many, like 28 points. I think he even ran a touchdown in. I remember this game vividly. And the Texans scored like 0 points. The defense just knocked the crap out of us. So any given Sunday, right, you can't just show up and expect it for the other team to hand you the win. That's why you play the game. But I do expect this to have a big part, a big factor. And I do think that the Texans defense, no matter how bad the Texans offense may be on the struggle bus there, I do believe that their defense should carry in this game regardless and give the offense plenty of opportunities to try to get things going, try to find a run game, try to find other playmakers other than Nico Collins, and get the win in New England and come back home 5-1, ready to play, or come back home at least to practice and get ready to get back on the bus and head over to Green Bay, right? So it is what it is. Let's see what's going back up here with the chat. I missed a couple of these. Get your point. Give the depth guys a chance to shine. Yeah, for sure. I don't see the Texans making a trade for any wide receivers. Like I said, they have a stacked wide receiver room for a reason. So let's go ahead and see it. Give everybody a turn there. It could work in your favor. Last year, you guys had to rotate guys like that, and it was harder for the defense to game plan. Yeah, and I think that's when we saw the emergence of Tank Dell. Well, not necessarily, right? Like he kind of came on in week 3 or 4. And then he got hurt in week 9, and then we saw the emergence of Nico Collins, right, after that. But then there was guys like Noah Brown and Robert Woods, and every week was somebody different, somebody else pitching in. So definitely needed that next man up mentality to keep showing up. It's quite reminiscent of last year, not having the full complement of weaponry. Yeah, it definitely does feel that way, and which is why this year I feel a little more sense of calm. And CJ Stroud was talking about it in one of these post-game interviews, saying like, hey, this is the NFL. It's not necessarily the way it always works in college. You're not always going to have everybody fully healthy, and it is just, next man up, who's going to be there to make those plays. And so he talked really nicely about guys like Xavier Hutchinson and Tank Dell, obviously. He's been saying Tank Dell is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Well, now it's time to put it out there on the field and really back it up. Now you have no excuses to not get your boy the ball. So let's, now with a full week of game planning, knowing that Nico Collins isn't there, let's get some Tank Dell targets, man. Let's get 8 to 10 targets for Tank Dell, and let's have him catch more than 50% of them, please. Let's get him into the end zone. That'd be really nice for once. So if we don't see that this coming week, I'll be a little bit worried. Unless it's like, Tank Dell was the true X. He took over the Collins role. He saw Christian Gonzalez the whole game, and the plan for the Patriots was to shut down Tank Dell. If that's the case, then I'll be like, all right, I'm giving him a pass. But if he doesn't give me 10 double-digit fantasy points and or a touchdown, he's definitely like a sit until I see it player. But this should be a game after he had one full game in his back pocket after coming back from chest injury, and a full week of game plan with no Nico Collins. This is the time to get it going, right? This is the time to get it going. And I agree with Derek here. It's the Diggs and Dell time. Let's go. It's time. You got a whole month to do it. Let's do it. Let's get to it, right? AKA the meat slab. Pause. What? Oh, hold on. The beef brisket. The grilled beef brisket was the first and only black quarterback to start for New England. Oh, wow. He made history. Okay. Interesting. Diggs to the moon. Yeah, so hopefully that works, man. Hey, what's happening, Song? What is happening, bro? Appreciate you for showing up, pulling up, man. Okay, here we go. Let's see. That win was so important to both these organizations, intent on being in the offseason. If it happens that way, you guys will host. Yeah, the win between the Bills and so yeah, this last game was extremely important. It was a AFC, race for home field advantage, basically, right? And so now the Bills are losers of 2 in a row, and they're reeling. And I had put that one on my Twitter not too long ago. Anyways, I think I showed it the other day when we were doing stuff, and I also showed the Chucky thing and a couple other stuff. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it as far as talking about the Bills game. The fallout from Nico Collins, right? We have Tank hopefully stepping up. So all of these are the major storylines that are going on with the Houston Texans at the moment, right? The running back room still in shambles, but they're getting some play out of them here and there, right? So let's see. I got to put that Chucky thing on his shirt. He looked crazy. Yeah, he did look crazy. You guys want to see that? It's John Gruden talking about CJ Stroud versus the Jaguars. You can look that clip up. It's on his YouTube. It's also all over Twitter. It's just super hilarious stuff to see. So, but yeah, talking about New England a little bit, going up to New England. Like I said, the Texans never won there. You can go all the way back to the infamous J.J. Watt and that crew wearing Letterman jerseys for the playoff game. The close playoff loss with, I can't even remember it, with Brock Osweiler as the quarterback. Will Fuller dropping a touchdown pass. So anyways, there's a lot of bad history there with New England. But obviously the big one, the big revenge narrative that nobody's talking about there is Nick Caserio heading back to his old stomping grounds where he won so many Super Bowls with the organization. So now he's going, so he's going back home. He's going back home to New England. I'm sure that, he has some places where he likes to eat and he'll feel, just at home, and he'll tell everybody, what places to check out while they're there, whatnot. But hopefully the Texans, like I said, they get off the plane and they show up on the field and they take care of business. They don't get hurt. You just do what you got to do. You run your basic stuff. You get, your playmakers going early, and then you don't take your foot off the gas, right? And you get home and you get back on the bus and everything's good and you're on to next week. Because like I said, this could become a trap game versus New England, and not very good this year. And typically it's always been the other way around historically. So this is just something that you don't want to, have your sights set on, looking past this. You want to continue the same kind of routine, one step at a time, take care of this opponent in front of you, come back home 5-1 and get prepared for Green Bay the following week. But other than their 2 running backs having fumbling problems, we did see Stevenson break off a nice run this last week. Jalen Polk is somebody there who, we kind of like coming in as a rookie wide receiver coming into the season. Maybe keep your eye on with May. Now he finally gets a start. I don't think this is the time to be super confident in firing up a Jalen Polk in your fantasy lineups, although he had a decent week last week, I believe. But yeah, those are just things I'd be watch. I guess Hunter Henry is probably another person to watch there. But like if you're playing guys on the New England side, then you're probably only playing Stevenson, and you were pretty skeptical this last week. But I think that he's fine. Antonio Gibson actually had higher yards per carry, if I'm not mistaken. But like I said, he's still the incumbent RB2 over there. Unfortunately, I picked him up hoping that he'd get that start and just overtake the entire backfield. But Stevenson had a bounce back game. They said, you're going to get benched. No, you're not. Wink, wink. And so he was able to still hold on to his starting role over there, I believe. So that would be the only solid play in fantasy. I think you could possibly flex Gibson, but the Texans do not allow much yardage to running backs. They saw him semi-bottle up James Cook, although he found the end zone. But I believe if it wasn't for that, he wouldn't have had many rushing yards or points, right? So him falling into the end zone really helped. Not necessarily falling in. He worked hard for that touchdown. I believe it was like an 8 or 7 yarder, but still. Still, they, like I said, I think they allowed maybe like 50 or so yards. You can pull up the James Cook rushing line. But yeah, they don't do much on the ground, running backs, that is, versus the Texans defense as well. Texans actually have a stout defense. Numbers are starting to show it. I think if the offense can stop turning the ball over, I know CJ's threw for over 300 yards. He did have a pick late in the game, plus a fumble on 2 drives where they could have just put the game out of reach completely. They allowed the Bills to not only tie it, but actually come back and have a chance to win. Unfortunately, the Bills' stupid-ass clock management towards the end of the game gave CJ Stroud, I think, like 38 seconds or 40 seconds. We know that if you give CJ Stroud like 25 seconds and a timeout, that's still too much time for him to move the football down the field and get a field goal. And that's how they ended up winning. Thank you, Kaimi Fairbairn, Player of the Week, like I said in recap. But I don't have much more for you guys on that. I do have a question from the chat, and I'm going to probably use one sound effect tonight, which is good. Let's go ahead and do it. Where's it at? Shit. There they are. I got a question from Song. He says, sit one, Kirk, Dontavian Wicks, or Tolbert? Man, you know, that whole Wicks situation thing was really disappointing, wasn't it? But, you know, Christian Kirk has been solid. There's the emergence of Brian Thomas over there. Tolbert as the wide receiver 2 in Dallas. This is actually a tough question for me, Song, especially not knowing in particular who the matchups are this week. In particular, I would have to say this is probably you can ask it again tomorrow on the watch party. But as of right now, I'm just being biased, and I'll probably be sitting Wicks because he didn't show it. I don't know what the number of targets was. I think he was still pretty high up there. I wasn't able to pick up Wicks or play him anywhere, or do I have any shares of him? So I wasn't entirely sure of his line. But yeah, that's a tougher question for me. But like I said, I'd probably be leaning that way, hoping that Tolbert just kind of continues to step in there with the injury to Brandon Cooks. And then Christian Kirk, I've always liked. I thought that he's pretty good. So we'll see what's up. Steamboat, what's up with Will Anderson? You think the sack totals will start to rise, or is he not of the caliber of the other top 3 picks like a Bosa and a Hutchinson? No, like I mentioned, I think that this is just a thing in general with the way that they run that defense. They get the pressures. They want to keep contain. And so if that means that the other guys can get pressure up the middle and get sacks, if you see where the sacks are coming from for the Texans, it's on the interior line. So I think that with Hunter and Anderson, they're just really pinching the edge, causing the pressure, forcing the QB to step up, and then that's what's either causing an errant throw or a sack from the interior line. So until offenses are willing to like kind of just, you know, eat that, I don't think that the numbers are going to necessarily just like show up all of a sudden. I think they'll be steady, and we're going to get some games down the line where, you know, they'll start hitting home. They need to start hitting home. But the pressure rate is super high still. They blitz, I think, like 40%, and then the pressure rate on those is really high as well. So when they're bringing the pressure, it's getting there. They're just not finishing the play with sacks, unfortunately. They're turning in, and I mentioned it off the top of the show, it's turning into to incompletions for quarterbacks. And that's instead of sacks, quarterbacks are being smart. They're getting the ball out. And so the Texans defense, instead of getting the sack, gets the incompletion for the quarterback. So that's what happens with that, unfortunately. I wanted to use some more sound effects. But yeah, Nico Collins to the IR. That one hurts. Let's see. We're talking about that completion, the pressures, and Will Anderson. I had the graphic up here. Here it is. So, yeah, they're first in the NFL in opposing quarterback completion percentage through 5 weeks. And there you see it. You know, you have defenders wrapping up the quarterback. Typically, Will Anderson is there bringing some guy down, but the ball is getting out, or, you know, it's been dumped off, or it's an incompletion, or it's been thrown away, or it's an intentional grounding, which I've seen a lot of versus the Texans as well. So I think it's just quarterbacks are being a little smarter about getting rid of the football. I think the pressure is still there. I think that he's still an elite talent, and people have to pay attention to him. And he got double teamed a lot last year, so that's kind of what happened with his numbers. I haven't been paying attention to too much this year, but like I said, the sacks have been coming for the Texans defense on the interior line, which is crazy. Damn, I never thought about that. That kid Settle has been killing it in the interior the past few weeks. Yeah, I saw you pick him up too, and it's true. Like Tim Settle, Mario Edwards. We're going to get Nico back from suspension this week. So that interior line is really stepping up and playing extremely well. And I think it has to do with the two edge guys just doing their job, rushing hard, pinching the edges, keeping contained, and just trying to close the pocket and make the quarterback step up into a hit. So Mayday does have some wheels, but with that bad line, I swear the Nightmare Fuel is going to hit home hard this week. Yeah, so if to go back to Steamboat's question, I think that, I'm guessing we're going to see a Will Anderson sack this week. If I had to put money on a prop bet for this game, it would probably be that Will Anderson gets a sack. And hopefully, the Texans turn the ball over and make the Patriots turn the ball over. They haven't been necessarily taking the ball away. They had a couple of opportunities this last week. They didn't turn the Jaguars over the week before that. So I think they're due. And, this is a great get right game for everybody. It's like, hey, we're 4-1. That's great in itself, but a lot of people are like, we haven't seen the best of the Texans. I think this is one of those, hey, let's go in here. This is the personnel that we have. Everybody come in, do your job. Let's get it done correctly. Let's look sharp, and let's play 4 quarters of clean, good football. And we'll feel really good about everything, heading forward, being 5-1, regardless of the situation and the personnel. So that's the goal, right? Obviously, every week, but we do need these guys to step up. Nightmare Fuel needs to get after it. These guys are scary, and it's but just looking scary isn't enough to get the quarterback down and turning the ball over, right? So hopefully, like I said, they get it together. Hopefully these guys on the offensive line can keep everything clean. When CJ has time, we can see him wreck, and when CJ has time and they're wrecking, then that's good news for guys like Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, and the likes, right? And sweet Nico, we're going to miss you. We're going to miss you. Our sweet Prince, get well. Take it easy. Heal up. Don't be a freak. Don't be a freako. Just chill. And we saw, before he popped up on the injury report, before the Jaguars game with a hamstring injury, played through it. And then he was just too fast on that long 67-yard walk-off touchdown run where he didn't return. I think they just did it. And so, like I said, the initial test, they thought he went from questionable to return, to out, to day-to-day, to week-to-week, to IR, to, his funeral's next week. But hopefully he comes back once those 4 weeks are done. Like I said, the testing revealed that the damage was, I don't know if they did MRI or if it was like a touch test or a range of motion, or the soreness today was, way more intense than it was on Monday or whatever. But hopefully he comes back within the allotted time when he's eligible to return. We get a 100% healthy Nico Collins, who didn't have to play on MetLife Field in New Jersey on a short week, right, on Halloween night, and can come back fully ready to go, geared up, ready to rock versus the Detroit Lions at home on a Thursday night, right? So hopefully that's the game plan, right? The Texans are just being extra cautious, super smart. Hey, we need you. Like we got through the first third or quarter of the season, we're going to miss this little chunk, and we're going to make a good push and be good and ready to go with you 100 for the playoffs, right? So I think that maybe just looking at the time frame and all that stuff, that's probably the way that they want to handle it. They're just being extra cautious with the best player on the team, arguably, aside from CJ Stroud, and the best wide receiver in football. Statistically, you can't even argue that. So, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, hitting the thumbs up for all this. What is up, Bakes? Appreciate you, man. I'm just about wrapped up here. Try to keep these close to an hour, but I'm just going. So you're saying I should start Will over Brian Burns? Don't listen to what I'm not saying, because I didn't know your Brian Burns situation. But I mean, if you're going to bank on the one sack that I was almost guaranteeing, then I would do that. But I'm not saying to do that. Diggs and Delta the Moon. Hopefully hopefully it's Diggs and Dell to the moon, and we get them up there, right? And we get those guys back well, I mean, Diggs has been playing phenomenal. I just think that, he's not at that superstar level. We can probably see him get back to track like he was as the wide receiver one in Buffalo, maybe, and then have an ancillary tank piece step up, right? And really help out the offense as, that number 2 option, or maybe even number 1, man. I mean, shoot, if we can start opening things up. We saw in the one play where the Buffalo Bills decided to go single high safety, CJ Stroud shredded them for that long touchdown to Nico, and then they went right back to cover 2. So, I mean, if everybody's just going to continue to play cover 2, then we're just going to have to keep dinking and dunking down the field, right? And it is what it is. And the Texans offense isn't going to be as exciting, and we just hope that they can execute better and get into the end zone, and we can have some better play calling from Slowick. But like I said, I think a lot of that predicates on the run game being there, and the run game hasn't been there, and that falls mostly on the offensive line. But the fact that, I think Joe Mixon masks a lot of the offensive line deficiencies in the run game because he's just a strong, powerful, really good running back. I think that he's an undervalued running back. And so we can really see the difference in the Texans offense when he is not there. The only game that the Texans have put up 30 points is when Joe Mixon was in the offense. So I think that they really do miss him, and they're also being extra cautious with his injury. We did see that it was a hip drop type tackle. It looked really bad when it happened. But him being a big, tough guy, it just seemed like he was going to get back from that injury a lot sooner than it has taken. And unfortunately, we are here where we're at in week 6, and we still have no Joe Mixon after only seeing him play in one game. It's tough. That post CJ did after the TD to Nico's needs to be on a shirt. Yes. Yeah, I already put that on a graphic, actually. But yeah, that's going on a shirt. It's like one of the coldest photos in football right now, or at least this season. I'm wondering who Gonzalez is going to be on most of the game if they keep him on the right side. It's going to be Hutchinson as the sacrificial lamb, and that's fine with me if I'm not rolling out Xavier in my fantasy lineups unless I'm extremely desperate and I'm hurting, which could happen. I have one team, I think, in the 14 where it's just like I have 0 receivers. Somebody trade me. I have a bunch of DBs that put up 10-plus points. If anybody wants to throw one receiver, I'll send you 2 DBs. I'm just saying. But anyways, and you've seen Gonzalez shadow. So if he does shadow, it probably would be Diggs. And if they did that, I think that'd still be pretty good for the Texans because Diggs is playing kind of like in the slot. So that means that the outside receivers and initial reads on the offense will be open. And then, of course, you can never forget about Dalton Schultz, who's been playing pretty okay. His uptick in targets has been steadily increasing. I think this is a guy who also, we don't talk about it. We're all expecting Tank Dell to take that step up. But I think that Dalton Schultz was the guy who really stepped up last season towards the second half when Tank went down. So now with Nico out, we'll see if it's Tank or Dalton, or if Diggs just becomes an alpha again, or if we're going to see, kind of this unconsolidation of that wide receiver one target, and then it kind of just spreads out to everybody else again. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, man, we lost a lot of really good men. Something like that. Nico, we're gonna miss you, bro. Get well, heal up. Don't do anything stupid. Don't be out on the stationary bike. Don't be trying to get back. If I was you this week, I'd be like eating some Oreos, taking like a mini vacay, and heading back in. Like I wouldn't even be working hard. Week 2, start to slowly move around, do some things again, right? And then week 3, then you can start working out, trying to get back into your football shape. But, I wouldn't even do anything about it because, honestly, man, we just need you to get better. We need to get back to the good times. And the good times it is. I mean, it's 4-1. The vibes should feel a little bit more immaculate in Houston, in H Town. But, we're just used to, like, things just breaking down and, like, shit hitting the fan all of a sudden all the time. So, just really crossing our fingers and hoping that we can keep trugging along, pushing the wins into the win column, and being hopefully the cream will rise to the top, right? And we get everybody back fully healthy and we're ready to roll in the second half of the season. Still really early, barely week 6 out of the 18 scheduled weeks that we have in the NFL as far as the regular season goes. And then it's a whole new season, and that's what these guys are essentially playing for, is the playoffs and the Super Bowl. Nico Collins, don't do anything Bogart Scott-Free would do. That's right. Yeah, he should just go to sleep and then wake up in a month. Perfect. Put him in a hyperbaric chamber. We're going to cryogenically freeze him while his hamstring heals. and stem cells and all of that stuff. Because, it's sad. Nobody wants to see this. Texans fans and NFL fans alike, Nico Collins is a wonder to see. He makes amazing catches. It's just really fun to watch play football. And that's because he doesn't really talk a lot. He's a big kind of quiet, dude who just goes about doing his business. And, it's not a lot of players in the NFL that are like that nowadays, especially at the wide receiver position. So it's a real sweet deal to see that guy. And it's just sad to see him gone for a few weeks. We are going to definitely miss him, but he'll be in street clothes on the sidelines, I'm sure, and cheering on his other teammates. And like I said, hopefully we can see some big spike weeks from the other guys in the wide receiver core, and that'll just be hella fun for a lot of other people in fantasy land, especially if we can go ahead and pick up a guy like Xavier Hutchinson and use him as that wide receiver 2 or 3 or whatever it may be. Because, it's always fun when you pick up somebody off the waiver wire and you can start throwing him in your lineups, a la Jawan Jennings and, some of the other waiver wire guys that, ebb and flow into our fantasy lineups. Hey, Lee, appreciate you for showing up, man. Yes, sir. We got the show on. We got it going. It cooked. We talked Bills. It was a big thing. And 2 weeks ago, I don't know if you guys remember when the Bills completely ransacked the Jaguars and the Texans had just lost to the Vikings 3 weeks ago or whatever it was. And you had asked me if the Texans would have beat the Bills. I would have said, hell no, no way. And I believe even before, when you go back and you watch last week's show and I gave the prediction, I almost gave the Bills the edge by a field goal, and then I flipped it and I gave the Texans the edge by the field goal. So my prediction was correct. I just believe that I hit the over with my score prediction. I think what did I say? It's like 28-25 was what I had said or something like that, which is slightly lower, but it is what it is. What does Lee have to say for us? Devontae Adams not expected to play for the Raiders. Yeah, his hamstring is it's going to be tight until he gets traded, I'm sure, buddy. Hey, Johnny Mittens, what's going on? If Nico gets bored, I heard Rasheed knows a lot of fun shit to do in Texas. Yeah, let's not have him do any of that stuff. He can come chill at my house. We don't do anything here. Yeah, and here's some more news. Colts, we did lose a lot of good men. Let's get the violin going for all of these guys right here while Lee's dropping it down with us. Colts wide receiver Michael Pittman is dealing with back injury now that he's expected to sideline him multiple weeks. Injured reserve is an option. Very sad news for the Colts. If you're a Colts fan watching the H Town Huddle, appreciate you. Please like and subscribe. I do talk about the Colts, and I don't talk a lot of shit either. I just say it how it is. Anthony Richardson, he is who we thought he is, or at least who I thought he was for fantasy purposes. Undraftable. But Joe Flacco, man, good move there, stealing him away from the Browns. And my prediction, Deshaun Watson will not play much more football for the Browns, and we will see the Jameson Winston. Jameson Winston. Jameson? Is his name Jameson? I already hadn't said his name in a while. It just sounded weird coming out of my mouth. Pause. So driving and listening. Appreciate you, Derek. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, but that's also sad news. I guess A.D. Mitchell would be somebody that you probably want to take a gander at. He's probably floating around on your waiver wire. Although, if it's going to be Anthony Richardson, A.D. Mitchell's probably not your best bet to be throwing into any of your fantasy lineups for redraft purposes. Yeah, that's not the correct answer. But yeah, I'm still irked and kind of sad about this whole Mixon thing. I've not seen him. I mean, he came back to practice on a Friday. Looked like he was going to suit up, but he did lie. He lied about playing, and that's a punishable offense. Oh, I forgot. I was like, what is that? I hit the wrong drop. Error 5. Yeah, I got to get an error sound effect. The robo error from Eurotrip. Error. We'll do that one. That one sounds pretty good. Unbelievable, though. So the Texans, 4-1. Like I said, if you had asked me 5 weeks in, I probably would have said we're more realistically 2-3. There hasn't been a sophomore slump for C.J. Stroud. Obviously, he had the number one wide receiver in the game going. So you'd have to say that a lot of that had to do with CJ Stroud trusting in him, throwing really good catchable footballs towards him. So, those 10, 12 targets a game that Nico was seeing are going to go in other directions. I'd imagine Texans are still going to throw the ball just as much as they have been because they've been in closer game scripts because they can't run the freaking football because there's no Joe Mixon, right?
I like big butts and I cannot lie.
I think I've gone over that a couple of times. But like I said, the offensive line did play a lot better this last week. Penalties were down, 0 penalties in the first half. Really good stuff there. Laramie Tunsil cleaned it up, man. He got on his shit. He didn't wear bright colored gloves. I think he heard me. He listened to the podcast or something. So way to get on that, guys. We need that to continue. Let's find that cohesiveness, and let's do that for four full quarters. And if we can do that for 4 full quarters, CJ Stroud will put points up for 4 full quarters, no matter who's out there catching passes for him. So I believe with that, folks, I will leave you or be getting ready to leave you. But I will say this before I go. Please check out everything else with the Gen Wealth Network that we got over here. Wake your game up on Fridays, on Tuesday mornings, 10:30 a.m.-ish Central Time. That's 8:30 a.m. on the West Coast for you West Coasters, where we do go over Tuesdays. It's waiver wire stuff. Fridays, we're helping you with start-sit questions, more of a Q&A type session. Don't forget, though, we're up super early, especially for international games, helping you set your lineup on the Grit Don't Quit Sunday Start-Sit Lineup Advice Show. That bad boy runs about 8 hours. We're up there several hours before start of kickoff, all the way up into noon kickoff for me anyway, through those games up into the afternoon. And then we are back on Sunday nights for the Sunday Night Live watch parties, as well as the Monday Night Live watch party. And then we do it all over again with Wake Your Game Up on Tuesday running waivers. So you can obviously catch the Guru Nation Power Hour as well Monday nights after the Monday Night Live watch party, and our show here breaking it down and keeping you guys entertained in the middle of the week on Wednesday nights at 8:30. Do not forget to check out our sponsor, neonpeacockmerch.com, where right now there are $14 t-shirts, $13.95, and 35% off the entire website. Please take a listen and a gander from our sponsor, neonpeacockmerch.com. Oh, I cut the video short. Sorry. Well, you get the gist. But anyways, I was already jamming. You guys were jamming too. But yeah, go check out the website. No need to run the whole minute-long deal, right? But $13.95 t-shirts. 35% off the entire website. That didn't work. 35% off the entire website. Wow. Okay. Talk about a combo breaker. Here we go. What did he say? Johnny Witten says, don't hurt Drake too bad this weekend, K. Need him down the road. Yeah, for sure. Hopefully, we'll talk to the offensive line out there in New England, but hopefully they can keep him upright, or they, maybe they'll just run the ball and try to get out of there pretty quick too. So if they can do that, I'm not mad at it for fantasy purposes, right? Let the clock run. Let's go. Everybody get out of there. Nobody get hurt out in New England. And let's get it. Yeah. Oh, and this is the one that Bogart and I were looking for a while. Yeah, so hopefully we won't be back playing that one, and the Texans are 4-2 all of a sudden in a trap game. We hopefully they go out there, they take care of business. Boom shakalaka! And then, like I said, they're right back to it. So appreciate you guys. I guess we'll put a bow on it, call it an evening. Till next time. Next time we'll be covering the Patriots recap, and then we'll be moving on to the Green Bay game, which is hopefully nobody's looking that far down the road as far as the Texans are concerned. Hopefully they have their sights set on New England, taking care of business, going over there, winning for the first time in Foxborough as an organization. Haven't been able to do that in 20 years of existence. I know they haven't met a whole bunch of times. I don't know exactly what the full win-loss deal is. I think the Texans have only beaten the Patriots like once or twice in my existence, probably twice. So, yeah, and Houston Green Bay is going to be one of those, man. It's going to be one of those battles, man. It's going to be epic. So, you know, when we get there, we'll get there, but we got to take care of business over here first. Do the damn thing, man. So appreciate everybody for showing up and showing out. This is your host, the Neon Peacock. This thing. Make you guys hit the like and subscribe, showing some support, liking all our other channels and other shows on the network. And you check us out next Wednesday for another edition of the H Town Huddle. With that, folks, I will leave you. Have a good night. Appreciate everybody. We'll see you on Friday for the Wake Your Game Up, and then of course on Sunday we'll catch you with all the good fantasy football goodness. Yeah, catch you guys on the next one, man. Appreciate each and every single one of y'all. Love y'all. Have a good night. Peace.
It's special. We're starting at practice. We practiced off this week, man. Hey, them boys are tired. Let's keep it up this week, man. Texans!
Suck my dick and pay me, pay me, pay me. She don't call back like, damn. And my brother's always busy. That's why shorty fucking with me. She the only one that give me. Yeah. And I rode this here for 2. I just hop up in the whip. I hit up 6. She smoke it with me. Little bitch.